King Lagos. It's time now for stories that are trending now, and Olamide Odekunle is standing by to bring us up to speed.
Good morning, team. How are you doing today?
Very well, Olamide.
It's too wait for you to laugh with our introduction. Olamide, good morning.
I'm trying to keep a smile on my face, but I have to say the killings in Benue still very weigh heavily on me this morning.
Absolutely.
I've got some stories for you guys. I'll take it away.
Great.
Good morning, Nigeria. As always, TVC has a finger on the pulse and our eyes on the streets, and we do our best on a daily basis to bring you trending stories from across the globe and indeed Nigeria in order to break them down for you guys in hopefully a productive way. In our first submission, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, the FCCPC, is turning up the heat on Air Peace following a wave of complaints from passengers, many of whom say that they've been left hanging after the airline cancelled flights but failed to refund their ticket fares. Now, in a notice dated the 3rd of June 2025, the Commission ordered Air Peace to show up at its Abuja headquarters on Monday, June 23rd, to answer for what is fast clearly becoming a PR and a legal nightmare for Air Peace. Now, according to the FCCPC, the airline's conduct may violate key consumer protection laws, particularly the right to timely refunds when a service is not delivered. Now, while the summons doesn't mention it directly, this development is coming on the heels of a recent clash between Senator Adams Oshomole and Air Peace staff after he accused them of racketeering and extortion. The senator had claimed that he and dozens of other passengers were denied boarding and asked to pay over 100,000 naira each to be moved to a later flight despite arriving on time. Air Peace maintains that he showed up late. As public outrage grows, the FCCPC is stepping in, not just over this high-profile Adams Oshomole incident, but a growing list of unresolved grievances from Nigerian air travelers. The FCCPC, it seems, is constantly summoning bodies. We saw that they summoned DSTV and MultiChoice, and nothing changed in our tariffs. So I'm really hoping that some sort of policy change goes down. What happens during those summonings? And will it lead to tangible policy? Or is it just another headline moment? I don't know. But as Senator Adams Oshomole said, there is no peace for Air Peace. Let's take a look at social media. At Kingsley Indimele says, customers don't love you unconditionally. Air Peace donated aircraft to evacuate Nigerians during xenophobic attacks and Nigerian ladies that were trafficked to Libya. Nigerians said Air Peace is the best. Now, Air Peace delays flights without compensation or apology. Nigerians, crucify them. That is indeed how the table turns. At Odogu Gowame says, they should hold them well. Air Peace has become notoriously bad in that without apologies. Let him sack his CFO and booking manager. I assume they are referring to Dr. Allen Onyema. But moving on, in another development, a more somber story. As the nation mourns the deadly terrorist attacks in Yelawata, Benue State, new videos circulating online are deepening public concern about Nigeria's ongoing security crisis. One video shows Ado Aleru, a notorious bandit kingpin long declared wanted by security agencies, openly addressing a peace meeting in Damusa, Katsina State. Despite being on the watch list for years, Ado Aleru reportedly discussed strategies for peaceful coexistence. And of course, many people are seeing this as disturbing, given his history of leading deadly raids across Zamfara and Katsina. Later on in the video that's going to play, heavily armed men in civilian clothing, who are believed to be Ado Aleru's mercenaries, are seen interacting freely with Nigerian soldiers. And this is raising eyebrows about who exactly is being protected and who is being empowered. As you can see in the video, this is Ado Aleru addressing a peacekeeping meeting. People are worried about this. At a time when violent attacks have become frighteningly routine, many Nigerians are demanding answers. Are security forces truly fighting for us Nigerians? Or have they become too familiar with those that continue to threaten our lives? This is very, very scary. We're setting a dangerous precedent for peace efforts in Nigeria. We are normalizing the presence of terrorists within our peace efforts. We have to ask ourselves, are we negotiating peace or are we enabling impunity? Let's take a look at social media. Makanaki says, imagine a country where the federal armed forces are having a peaceful meeting with terrorists who are swinging rifles and RPGs in broad daylight. Our government has failed us. We'll take another submission. At Omoade says, it's only the Nigerian army that will have a meeting with a bandit kingpin and his members. But when it comes to civilians, they use tear gas and guns. Moving on, still on developments in and around Benue, the Principal Special Assistant to the Benue State Governor on Youth and Media Mobilization, Honorable Atu Teve Joseph, has sacked 2 of his aides for participating in a protest against the rising insecurity in the state. Mr. John Ukeyima, who served as the Chief of Staff, and Mr. Lubem Terkula, the Chief Press Secretary, were both relieved of their duties after joining hundreds of youths who staged a peaceful demonstration in Makurdi on Sunday. The protest was, as we know, organized to condemn the ongoing attacks by suspected Fulani herdsmen, which have left numerous communities in mourning. In a dismissal letter dated the same day, Teva accused his aides of undermining the position of the state government and acting against its interests by lending their voices to the protest. Now, this decision has, of course, raised many eyebrows, particularly given the growing frustration among citizens who feel abandoned in the face of all the relentless violence that we're seeing. As Benue continues to count its dead, this controversy has added another layer to the state's already tense security and political atmosphere. In a time where government officials should be lending their voices, we just celebrated Democracy Day. You have an aide that's saying, don't be the voice of the people, don't lend your voice, don't participate because you are acting against the interests of the state. We have to bear in mind that it was a peaceful demonstration. It hadn't turned violent. But let's take a look at social media. These 2 men have now been indefinitely suspended. At Tyreek says, firstly, both positions are questionable. Secondly, as part of the governance, why are they protesting? Protesting for what? Are they there to deceive the citizens? Every single government official in that state should get to work. It's true. Why are you there? You should be mobilizing. Safety Cabal says, wait, Special Assistant get Chief of Staff and Chief Press Secretary. This is a colossal waste of taxpayers' money. I couldn't have said it better myself. Now, team, we are seeing many events still unfolding in Benue State, in the politics of the state, but I really want to focus on this story about the terrorists mingling with Nigerian armed forces. This is very, very scary. It is time, don't you think, for us to draw a clear line?
Well, a lot of things that happen in this country at times defy all sense of reasonings and things like that. You know, somebody might want to understand with those guys in Benue State that joined the protest, maybe a member of their family or somebody close to them was affected and they got emotional and did that. But actually, since you're in government, being a part of a protest, it doesn't sound too right. That the Nigerian army is negotiating with terrorists. I know that in war situations, there are times where you drop the arms and then you negotiate with the enemy to see how you can expedite a ceasefire. I don't know if that is what's happening, but the optics is not very nice. It looks like a whole Nigerian army, you know, having a meeting with, you know, the optics, not nice at all. And Air Peace is going through a public relations nightmare. They have to put their acts together. That particular airline has done a lot of things that made Nigerians love the airline. For things like this to start coming up, it's something they should try as much as possible to settle very fast.
All right, so I'll pick it up from the video where the bandits and those dressed in military clothing. We cannot totally conclude if they are personnel of Nigerian military, because we have seen where people wear certain clothing that belong to the Nigerian military, claiming that they are part of the Nigerian military. What were they
doing with Nigerian army trucks?
And we've seen where they have also taken Nigerian army trucks. Right. So it's the video, until it is verified, I would want us to be careful with the kind of narrative that we put out there. And we have seen matters of conversation. State governments even have conversation with bandits and addressing this matter on their activities in this state. So we have to be careful how and ensure we situate things appropriately. Now to the other story regarding the persons that were dismissed. I think that a lot of young persons this time do not understand the certain positions they occupy, and so just join in the bandwagon effect and just join in certain things that are happening so that they wouldn't be seen as not being part of the people. The moment you take up government appointment, you are part of government. You are meant to serve the people, but you are not to join them in protest. Yes, you are meant to speak for the people, but you speak behind closed doors with your principal and not to join protest. A lot of education needs to be done. Creation of awareness needs to be done for a majority of persons, especially young people who are called Gen Zs and want to take certain positions but do not understand what their roles are if you are working with government. I'll leave it there. Sam?
Well, let me start with the FCCPC thing with Oshomole, where peace and air peace. You know, it was very interesting drama going on, and you know, Shomole came out and said, "I'm against racketeering." He was calling out the organization and so on. What they should have done was to have the organization should have gone to Oshomole and tried to sort the thing out with him quietly. They allowed the matter to careen out of control. You know, air peace has been known for good things, as you have said earlier, or somebody said earlier, you know. But, you know, organizations have to be very careful. When you start a thing, it's what they call utility. Then when you at the stage of utility, you are useful to everybody, then it becomes privilege. When it becomes privilege, you see thinking that because you have earned this pedigree of utility, of helping people and of prestige, then you now think that you are bigger than all. That leads to decay. So you have utility, prestige, and decay. So they should be careful not to go to decay. We saw that with other airlines in the country like Arik and Aero and all of that. We should be careful with air peace not to turn utility into decay.
That's right.
The other one is the bandits, the Adua Alero talking to people of the military. As you said, you know, we have to be careful and verify this, and we need the high command of the armed forces to come out with a statement to clarify.
Absolutely.
You say, what happens in situations of conflict and war, where you cannot distinguish who is who? You have a situation where people move between lines and identity blurs. I read the book, The Last Days of Budapest, about Hungary during the Second World War, during the attack of Jews and killing of Jews. There were people moving and changing identities all along. And when you have conflict like this, it does happen. That is why we have the need for the military command to clarify all of this so that we know who is who. And what's the third story again about the guy who was chief press secretary to an assistant? Must be a very big assistant.
Not just any assistant, he's the principal assistant.
He's the principal assistant.
Yes.
So it's a principal in the government. What do you mean? It's a principal in the government.
He's a big boy.
So what do you expect? And the guy has identity problem. The guy who went to protest has identity problem. Am I or am I not? Just like Britney Spears, you say, am I a girl or am I a woman? You know, that kind of thing. So there's an identity problem. Am I with the people or am I with the government? You have to say who you are. You know, let your yea be yea and your nay be nay.
Maybe we'll just leave it at the nay right there. I think it's been well said about what the young men who are in government need to do and need to know and position yourself adequately so you don't, infringe the rights or the constitutional lines of either sides. I'm a victim of what has happened from Air Peace. I think it's 3 weeks now I returned from Abuja. Our flight was moved 3 times. I ended up getting to my house 1 a.m., a flight that was initially for 7 p.m., and then we moved to a 9, and then to a 10, and then we finally got to move. And when we did move, we didn't fly an Air Peace aircraft. Normally the aircraft would have Air Peace written on it. This one did not. And according to whatever they tried to whisper at the background, they said that probably that aircraft had an issue. And so, but people were already tired and flung with the wahala of moving flights over and over again. And so please, we're begging you, Air Peace, for the goodwill that you have and for the good name that you've presented yourself to be in this country, maintain that flag. Please, don't allow this to dent your image. Please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nelson. It would be great to see the Army PRO and their press departments come out to debunk this video. It'd be great to see that, because the uniform at the basic level is a way for us to identify Army men. They need to get ahead of this. Although some might even argue that the Army stance or the government stance on the rehabilitation of terrorists in the first place is a tricky one considering all the bloodshed. But thank you for your submissions. Mr. Sam, a Britney Spears fan, I would never have guessed.
No, don't count on it.
So moving on. As Nigeria continues to mourn the devastating killings in Yelwata, Benue State, which left scores dead and many more injured, a wave of reactions from celebrities and influencers has swept across social media. Many of these public figures have posted messages condemning the violence and calling for justice and government intervention. However, the sincerity of these messages is being questioned by a growing number of Nigerians online. While some people online appreciate the symbolic support and the amplification of this tragedy, others are accusing certain influencers of using the moment to chase clout or curry favor with their followers. People are saying that beyond these posts, there's often little tangible action from many of these online personalities. But what do you guys think? Should influencers stay silent, or should they speak up even if their words appear performative? In a country where attention quickly shifts from one crisis to the other, many people argue that every voice matters, especially when it helps to keep the spotlight on forgotten and troubled communities like Yelwata in Benue State. Let's take a look at social media. As Afam Delok says, and he was referring to a video by Kata Efe, Lasisi Elenu, some influencers. He told them, by Kidwaya, he said, you should be in Benue State. That is your home. That's where your voice should be the loudest, leading from the front. All this eye service with silly statements is step up where it actually matters, kid. He's referring to Kidwaya, who is a native of Benue State. Dr. Izu says, honestly, who is this message directed to? Your fans here on Twitter, or the federal or the state government, or the alleged herdsmen who don't have Twitter? Very interesting. Moving on, in entertainment news. Over the weekend, media personality Daddy Freeze was officially unveiled as the new host of the Honest Bunch podcast, replacing comedian and on-air personality Nedu. This follows Nedu's controversial exit back in February after heated backlash surrounding comments made on the show. Now, while a lot of speculation swirled that he was fired, the podcast producers have cleared the air, stating that Nedu was only asked to take a step back, but chose instead to walk away completely. A new promo poster featuring Daddy Freeze was shared on the podcast Instagram page, confirming the shakeup and ushering in what fans are calling a new era for the show. Take a listen.
And saying, addressing that, Nedu is taking a temporary break to address the current controversies. He'll be back. At the time we told him that, he felt, that wasn't the best move for him. That he would rather leave the show than to accept that, as an option. And he felt like, we shouldn't talk about it, But we are, we owe our audience.
Very interesting. Well, don't crucify me, guys, watching back home. But it's your loss, because Nedu now works with us here at Max FM. Take a listen one of these days if you have time. Before I hand over to my team, I'd like you guys to please chime in with the hashtag TrendingNowTVC on any social media platform of your choice. Team, how important is it for celebrities and online influencers to lend a voice? Does it actually push the needle in any way in causes like this?
Yes, it does, but I think they should go to the place of conflict and share relief materials. It will make better content.
Absolutely.
All right. If it is not bandwagon effect following the trend, I think it's important that they speak. But how far will their speaking go, and are they directing it to the right people? Sam?
The problem with some of them is that they are not profound. They're just making comments for effect rather than having an effect on the ground.
Indeed. And for Freeze and Nedu, and look, it's media, it's job. Anybody can move any day, anyway. It shouldn't cause any brouhaha. At the end of the day, now person pocket you look for. Don't bother your skin about who's moving where. It's work. That's where it's been employed.
Just as you have done yours for today.
Exactly. All this wahala, forget about it, please.
We have to join.
Stepped away.
We have to close things up right now on the show. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of the show. But let's let you know that the views and reaction of all our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Up next is Your View with the Ladies. And afterwards this morning, with Yori Folari. To stay safe. Bye.
Bye.